Okay, so our last little video in this rather short chapter on the skin, and we begin with the first accessory structure in the skin that we're going to talk about is the hair. And the hair is found, as we've already talked about, with thick skin and thin skin. It's found everywhere except where thick skin is at, which is the soles of the feet, the palms of the hand, the lips, a few areas around the genitals, and also around the areola. Now, hair grows outward, so we can think of hair beginning with a hair bulb, and this is going to be the area like our stratum basal in the skin. This is the area where there's a bunch of stem cells, and they're going to be dividing and producing living tissue, living cells, but things grow outward and then upward from that point. And so that area of living epithelial cells is the hair bulb. Then, once that is produced and we have the matrix, which is the area of active cell growth, then we're going to see those cells begin to get pushed out from more cells dividing inside them. So as the stem cells in the bulb are creating the cells in the matrix, then those cells in the matrix will start being pushed out into the medulla, then the cortex, and then the cuticle. And each of these are now layers of dead skin cells. So once you get outside the matrix, you're talking about dead, not skin cells, hair cells. And so what they're going to have, though, is variations on the amounts of keratin inside them that determines how hard they are or how soft they are. Typically, then, the medulla is going to be the softest of these three layers. Then the cuticle is the hardest. So here we see some neat pictures of hair as it emerges, and once your hair emerges above the skin level, then above your scalp, then it is, or skin on your rest of your body, of course we have hair all over the body, it is dead. All those cells you see are dead. All right, so what are some accessory structures of the hair? We see that there is erector pili and sebaceous glands. And erector pili are what are going to give you the goosebump effect, right? These are little muscles attached to each of your hairs, and these muscles will yank on the hair and produce goosebumps. Right? And then the sebaceous glands are the glands that provide the lubricant for your hair to keep it soft, to keep it shiny, and in addition they also control the amounts of bacterium that might be present in that area. Another accessory structure in the skin are glands, and we see several different types of glands here. We've talked about these at one point or another already this semester. And in our case, in the skin, there are two major types of sweat glands. There's the merocrine, also known as eccrine sweat glands, and they are certainly the most numerous, and they are very simple tubular glands, nothing complex at all about them. They aren't very sophisticated, and they produce sweat, which is mainly water that helps to keep the body cool. The other type of sweat gland present in the skin is the apocrine sweat gland, and this one is a little different. This one has a distribution that's much more specific. It occurs in the groin, around the anal region, also in the armpits, around the areola. So these are not found all over the body, they're just found in these specific regions. They also aren't active till puberty occurs. The others are active from day one on. You're going to be sweating in order to try to control your temperature. The sweat that is produced by these glands is thicker, a little milkier. It also has some scent to it. So in response to sexual stimulation, stress of some type, they will produce a certain scent. So it is thought that perhaps these glands, these apocrine sweat glands, have something to do with pheromones. And it's a controversial topic whether we actually can detect pheromones, but there does seem to be some indication that we do detect pheromones. Some of it has to do with the way women, if they say are roommates, 4 different women, they come in with completely different cycles, that after a few months that the cycles will then be correlated with each other, will be in time with each other. Men can also be influenced by the presence of a female cycle, and females can be influenced by the presence of testosterone. How much this has to do with pheromones, though, it's still up in the air, still a lot of research to do, no matter what those ads for Axe spray or whoever else says. Okay, so sweat is mainly some salts and some ammonia, and again, mostly water. pH is down to about 5. That way it kills a lot of the bacteria that are on the surface of your skin. We all sweat, and the sweat that we don't really detect is called insensible perspiration, about half a liter of that per day. But then true sweating in response to heat generation through exercise or some other intense activity, we call that act of sweating diaphoresis. So to be diaphoretic means you are really gushed and flooding with sweat pouring out of your skin. In an exercise, we can produce about a liter per an hour of sweat. That's how much we produce. Remember, insensible-wise, we only produce half a liter. So that's stuff we produce all day versus the sweating associated with physical activity. Sebaceous glands within the skin can produce sebum. Okay, so it's an oily secretion that keeps the skin soft, the hair soft. You remember way back we talked about the 3 different types of glands. We had merocrine, apocrine, and holocrine. Well, sebaceous glands are the holocrine type, where the entire cell will break apart and disrupt to release the sebum. Right? So obviously you need lots of mitosis to be occurring to keep producing new cells that produce more oil. That's why as we age, our hair tends to get more brittle, is less soft, because we don't have mitosis occurring quite as often. Here are just some pictures of some sebaceous glands, a little more complex than your basic sweat gland. We have a couple other types, the ceruminous glands. These produce earwax, and that's to protect your ear from dust and so forth. Mammary glands, the breast of both sexes, we have very little glandular material unless the pregnancy occurs, lactation is going to begin, and these, remember, are just a type of apocrine sweat gland. Finally, the last accessory structure we're going to talk about in the skin is the nails, and you have a proximal nail root right here, and then a distal nail body. So the proximal nail root's closer to the point of attachment, and then the distal nail body. There's a modified stratum corneum, and that's what the nail is. It's just like the outer layer of your skin, but it's got a few more deposits in it that lend to it being hardened. The eponychium is this border around the upper surface of the nail. The eponychium is a name I would have had for my second or third daughter. So would have been interesting, right? Eponychium. Okay, so then we have the hyponychium, which is underneath the surface of the nail and attaches the nail to the lower nail bed. So the eponychium is this border above that holds the nail in there. The hyponychium is below the nail then to anchor it. And finally, the lanula. The lanula is this half-moon shape structure on the lower portion of your nail near the nail root. Why does that occur? Well, blood vessels that are in the tip of your finger are going to dive deeper into your finger at that point, and when they go deeper into the finger, they take away the blood and any color influence that the blood has on that particular area of the body. And so the lanula will have the blood removed, and so it appears white in response. That's it for Chapter 6. We'll see you for Chapter 7 soon.